Here is the brutal truth about recessions that nobody tells you. They do not hit everyone the same. Right now, economists at Goldman Sachs and the Fed are flashing warning signs for the next 12 to 24 months. But whether the crash hits in 2026 or 2027, one thing is certain: your location matters more than your resume. Picture two software engineers. Same salary, same skills, same 401k. One lives in a state that has spent the last decade building an economic fortress. The other lives in a state that is one bad quarter away from total collapse. Same recession, completely different outcomes. Over the next 20 minutes, I am going to show you the 10 states that have quietly built recession-resistant economies. We aren't guessing. We are looking at hard metrics: economic diversity, rainy day funds, and tax structure. And fair warning, I am putting the most controversial pick at number 1. The comment section is going to explode, but the data does not care about your feelings. Before we count down the safe havens, you need to understand the threat. Why are economists pointing to 2026 specifically? Why not 2027? Why not 2030? It comes down to 3 specific triggers that are all colliding at the exact same moment. Trigger number 1, the corporate debt wall. During the pandemic, thousands of companies locked in interest rates at near 0%. That was free money. But those corporate bonds have a 3 to 5 year maturity. Starting in late 2025 and peaking in 2026, over $2.5 trillion of corporate debt has to be refinanced. They are going to trade 3% interest rates for 7% or 8%. For many zombie companies that barely make a profit, that math is a death sentence. A zombie company is a pre-revenue company that lives off revolving debt. It is only possible due to extreme low interest rates. We are looking at a wave of corporate bankruptcies that will flood the labor market with unemployed workers. Trigger number 2, the commercial real estate collapse. You see the empty office buildings in your city? That is a ticking time bomb. Regional banks hold hundreds of billions in loans on those empty buildings. Those loans come due in 2026. When the landlords default, the banks take the hit. When the banks take the hit, they stop lending to small businesses. That creates a credit crunch that freezes the entire economy. Trigger number 3, the AI displacement curve. Right now, AI is a fun tool. By 2026, it becomes an enterprise replacement. Goldman Sachs predicts AI could expose 300 million jobs to automation. We aren't talking about blue-collar work. We're talking about entry-level coding, paralegals, marketing, and HR. The states on this list today aren't just nice places to live. They are the specific geographies that are insulated from these 3 triggers. They hold the industries, like defense, agriculture, and healthcare, that cannot be automated by a chatbot and cannot be bankrupt by high interest rates. So, with the stakes set, let's look at the only places safe from the storm. Number 10 is Colorado. If you think Colorado is just ski resorts and legal weed, you are missing the point. Tourism gets crushed in a recession. So why is it on this list? Because beneath the surface, Colorado has built a war economy. Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Space Command. These operations run on federal contracts that are locked in years in advance. When the private sector starts mass layoffs, defense contractors keep building satellites and fighter jets because the Pentagon's budget does not pause for a recession. But here is the genius move. Colorado hedged its energy sector. They produce oil and gas, but they are also a top 5 state for renewable investment. When oil prices crash, and they always do in a recession, the wind and solar projects keep people employed. When renewables hit headwinds, the traditional oil cash flow is still there. It is a two-way hedge that states like Wyoming never built. Now, if you are moving here for safety, do not chase the Instagram dream. Aspen and Vail are economic traps built on Airbnb and luxury tourism. That money dries up fast. The smart play is the I-25 corridor between Denver and Colorado Springs. That is where the defense tech is. That is where the jobs stay safe, even when the national headlines turn red. Number 9 is North Carolina. This state pulled off a trick most others couldn't. They embraced the new economy without killing the old economy. Look at the Rust Belt. They went all in on manufacturing, and when that died, cities collapsed. Look at San Francisco. They are addicted to venture capital, so when the tech bubble bursts, the city bleeds. North Carolina threaded the needle. On one side, you have the Research Triangle. This is one of the densest biotech clusters in America. These aren't fragile apps that disappear when funding dries up. These are companies working on FDA approvals and cancer research. Recessions do not stop the need for medicine. But on the other side, they kept their industrial backbone. North Carolina is still a manufacturing giant for furniture, textiles, and food. Agriculture alone pumps $90 billion into the state. People still need to eat in a depression. Then you layer on Charlotte, the second largest banking center in the US. Yes, banking takes a hit in a downturn, but Charlotte has the diversification to absorb the shock. Here is the tactical move. The arc of stability between Charlotte and the Triangle is where you want to be. This corridor is absorbing thousands of professionals fleeing the Northeast, bringing wealth and tax revenue with them. While other states raise taxes to cover debts, North Carolina's growth is funding its own survival. Number 8 is Tennessee. Tennessee's advantage is simple: the power of zero. Zero state income tax. In a boom, that's a luxury. In a recession, it's a survival tool. When your company freezes raises in 2026, keeping that extra 7% of your paycheck is the difference between paying the mortgage or falling behind. But a tax haven is useless without jobs. That is why Tennessee beats other zero-tax states like Nevada. They built an economy on things you cannot cut from your budget. First, healthcare. Nashville is the hospital capital of America. HCA, community health systems, they are all headquartered here. The stress of a recession often increases the demand for healthcare. Second, logistics. Memphis has the second busiest cargo airport on Earth. Even if you stop buying luxury goods, essential food and medical supplies still have to move. Logistics is the circulatory system of the economy, and Tennessee is the heart. Compare this to a state like Illinois, where taxes keep rising as services get cut. Tennessee is entering the recession with momentum. Illinois is entering with debt. Number 7 is Minnesota. I know what you are thinking: high taxes, brutal winters, big government. But Minnesota is the exception that proves the rule. It is an economic fortress. While other states rely on hype, Minnesota relies on corporate muscle. For a state of this size, they have an absurd number of Fortune 500 headquarters: Target, United Health, 3M, General Mills. These are not fragile startups. These are global empires with massive cash reserves. But look at what they produce: medical devices and food. In a recession, you might not buy a new Tesla, but you will buy cereal, and you will buy insulin pumps. Here is the kicker: the state government is disciplined. They have one of the largest rainy day funds in the nation relative to their budget. When the crash comes, states with no savings will panic. They will fire teachers and let roads crumble. Minnesota has the cash to keep the lights on. You pay higher taxes here, yes, but you are buying civilization insurance. You are paying for a state that won't collapse when GDP drops. Number 6 is Virginia. Virginia has a customer that never goes out of business: the United States government. If you want to understand why this state is bulletproof, follow the money: the Pentagon, the CIA, Quantico. Northern Virginia is home to the army of contractors that keep the federal government running. Federal spending is sticky. Defense budgets are planned years in advance. When the private sector is firing people, the government often increases spending to stimulate the economy. But Virginia isn't just bureaucrats. They have quietly become the backbone of the internet. Northern Virginia has the highest concentration of data centers in the world. Every time you stream Netflix or use ChatGPT, you are likely routing through Virginia. Those data centers do not shut down because the stock market had a bad quarter. If you work in IT, cybersecurity, or defense, Virginia is the bunker. The downside is the cost of living near DC. But if you look further out, towards Fredericksburg or Richmond, you get the stability without the insane price tag. Now, before we get to the top 5, I need to show you something critical. the death zones. These are the 5 states you need to avoid at all costs when the 2026 downturn hits. If you live in one of these, the next 5 winners aren't just suggestions, they are your lifeboats. Let's move fast. Death Zone 1, Illinois. Illinois is a financial disaster waiting to explode. They have over $200 billion in unfunded pension obligations. That is debt they cannot pay. On top of that, they have the highest combined state and local tax burden in the nation. And what are you getting for those taxes? Crumbling infrastructure and fleeing businesses. In the last decade, Illinois has lost more residents than almost any other state. When the recession hits, they will raise taxes even higher to cover the shortfall, which will push even more people out. It is a doom loop. Death Zone 2, New Jersey. High debt, high taxes, and a massive reliance on Wall Street bonuses. When the finance sector contracts, New Jersey's budget implodes. It is expensive to live there, and you get very little stability in return. Death Zone 3, Nevada. I mentioned this earlier. Nevada is a one-trick pony. It relies almost entirely on discretionary tourism. In 2008, Las Vegas had the highest foreclosure rate in America. In 2026, history will repeat itself. Death Zone 4, Hawaii. Cost of living is catastrophic. It imports almost all its food and energy. In a global supply chain crunch, prices there don't just rise, they double. It is paradise in a boom and a prison in a bust. Death Zone 5, Oregon, specifically Portland. The flight of high-income earners has decimated the tax base. You are seeing a doom loop where high taxes drive people away, forcing the state to raise taxes even higher on the few who stay. If you are in one of these 5, the next 5 states I'm about to show you aren't just recommendations, they are lifeboats. Let's get back to the winners. Number 5. Number 5 is Massachusetts. This is the state of brains, beds, and biotech. It is expensive and heavily regulated, but it dominates 3 sectors that behave totally differently from the rest of the economy: elite education, healthcare, and research. Wealthy families do not stop sending their kids to Harvard because the economy dipped. International students keep coming. Federal research grants keep flowing. Then you have the Boston-Cambridge corridor. This is arguably the most important biotech hub on Earth. Moderna, Vertex, Biogen. These companies aren't making consumer gadgets, they are curing diseases. The demand for health is inelastic. If you are a high-skill worker, Massachusetts offers a flight to quality. In 2026, many people are going to realize that expensive but stable beats cheap but fragile. Number 4 is Florida. People think Florida is chaos, hurricanes, and theme parks, but financially, it is a machine. 3 words: no income tax. But unlike other states, Florida has a unique engine: the silver tsunami. Retirees and high earners are flooding in, bringing pensions, Social Security, and 401k distributions. This is imported wealth. It keeps the local doctors and contractors paid, even if the national economy stalls. And while tourism usually crashes in a recession, Florida is the trade-down destination. When families can't afford Europe or Hawaii, they still drive to Orlando. Add in the Space Coast, where billions are pouring into launch infrastructure, and you have a diversified powerhouse. The warning here isn't jobs, it's insurance. If you move here, avoid the flood zones, or the premiums will bankrupt you. But if you navigate that, the wealth inflow makes Florida a top-tier survivor. Number 3 is Washington. Washington sits at the intersection of 3 powerful forces: big tech, global trade, and agriculture. Let's address the elephant in the room: tech layoffs. Yes, they happen. But look at what Washington builds: cloud computing, enterprise software. When a recession hits, businesses cut travel, but they do not cut their AWS bill. That is their infrastructure. Consumers stop buying luxury brands, but they start shopping at Costco and Amazon to save money. Washington's companies are designed to capture market share when people get thrifty. Outside of Seattle, you have a massive agricultural engine feeding the country and exporting to Asia. Trade might slow, but it never stops. And remember, 0 state income tax. If you are a tech worker in Seattle, you are keeping $15,000 to $20,000 more per year than your counterpart in California. That is your personal rainy day fund. Number 2 is Texas. Texas is the economic Swiss Army knife of the United States. It is the everything engine. Most states are good at one thing: Texas is good at almost everything. Energy, they dominate oil, but they also lead the nation in wind energy. It is a built-in hedge. Tech, Austin and Dallas have absorbed the companies fleeing the West Coast. Manufacturing, Texas leads the nation in exports. Healthcare, the Texas Medical Center is the largest in the world, employing 100,000 people in recession-proof roles. But the real strategic advantage is the government. Texas is aggressive. When other states raise taxes in the recession, Texas will run ads telling companies to move here to save money. They play to win. In the next downturn, Texas isn't just going to hold its ground. It is going to poach business from everyone else. Number 1 is California. I need you to open the comment section right now. I know what you are going to say. Are you insane? Everyone is leaving. The taxes! I get it, but this isn't a California is perfect video. This is a who wins the recession video, and the math says California dominates. First, scale is armor. California's economy is $3.9 trillion. That is larger than the UK. When one sector bleeds, another thrives. Second, when recessions hit, companies need to get efficient. That means they buy technology. Who sells the technology? California. Third, what do people do when they are broke? They stay home and watch screens. California owns the entertainment industry. Streaming demand goes up when travel goes down. But here is the real reason: wealth concentration. California has more venture capital and more billionaires than almost anywhere on Earth. When asset prices crash, this is where the money is sitting, ready to buy up the wreckage at a discount. Recessions do not destroy wealth, they transfer it. And California is the buyer, not the seller. With a $30 billion rainy day fund, California has the capacity to invest its way out of trouble, while other states beg for bailouts. It is shedding low-income residents, but it is concentrating high-value talent. That is not a collapse, that is consolidation. So, the question is simple. Are you in a state built to take a punch, or are you in a state that is one bad quarter away from chaos? When the downturn hits, jobs and capital are going to move fast. These 10 states are where they will land. I want to know your strategy. Drop a comment. Are you staying put, or are you planning a move? And if this breakdown helped you see the board clearly, hit subscribe. We are already working on the follow-up, the 5 cities inside these states that will explode. It's coming soon. This is EconoNova. Stay sharp.